Welcome to AUX Management Solutions Internal and External Audit Readiness Course. Let's dive right into the history of quality management before we get into the aerospace standard, shall we? The birth of modern quality can be pinpointed to the mid-1920s. Walter Shewhart, a statistician who worked at Western Electric, developed methods for statistical process control. Walter used SPC to monitor variations and process performance. His work laid the foundation for statistical control charts and other methods. His statistical charting methodology was adopted by the American Society for Testing and Metals, or ASTM, in 1933. In the 1940s, World War II had a profound effect on the evolution of quality management. During this time, most U.S. factories were listed to support the war effort, but the quality of munitions and other military products weren't performing as well as they needed them to. Soon, Edward Deming, Ph.D., was asked to consult with the Secretary of War, and Deming recommended teaching courses in the SPC methods he learned while working with Walter Shewhart at Western Electric. Deming then teamed up with Duran, a Romanian-American engineer who created the Pareto chart, to teach SPC around the country. In the 1950s, Japan post-World War II was laid to ruins from Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Around this time, Japan had a reputation for making cheap imitation products and had a weak workforce, just like China, not too long ago. Japan got wind of what Deming and Duran were teaching during World War II, and the Japanese Union of Scientists and Engineers invited the two to lecture them on quality. Japan quickly embraced the practices throughout their plants, while U.S. industry leaders were becoming complacent and started abandoning the very same practices. We aren't sure of the reason behind this, but we could assume that the U.S. had cultural issues that prevented the teachings from sticking, just like today. Soon, Japan started to become the leader in the automobile industry, and Deming authored a white paper titled, "If Japan Can, Why Can't We?" The white paper was featured on NBC News in 1980, and U.S. companies began to wake up. This is when total quality management, or TQM, became the main focus of Western manufacturers. But eventually, TQM failed to be sustainable due to ineffective implementation, in other words, cultural issues, once again. Cultural issues have always plagued U.S. companies. In fact, Ox can recall his previous quality manager role at a company that's now bought out, and he had hung a plaque of his Lean Six Sigma Black Belt certificate in his office. One day, an employee came into his office to ask a question. The employee noticed his plaque and asked, "Oh, you know karate? That's funny you have that in your office." Ox saw this as a big problem and wanted to train the shop floor on quality and efficiency, but the VP at the time was only focused on revenue and pushing product out the door and saw training as a distraction. Ox believes that every manufacturing company in the U.S. should prioritize training every employee in the organization on quality principles to raise cultural awareness and not just hire one or two individuals to bear the burden of what should be a top-down mandate. Anyways, I digress. Back to the training. During the time of TQM, the British standard BS 5750 was the foundation of the initial version of ISO 9000, which followed the same structure. Eventually, ISO became the internationally recognized standard for the quality management systems we know today.